With the name of Allah, you are welcome in my lectures in cost accounting. In this lecture, I will explain a standard costing system. What is the mean of a standard? If your height is 170 centimeters and you want to know your ideal weight, you can subtract 100 centimeters from your height. The result is 70 kilograms. That is your standard weight. If your weight is more than 70 kilograms, that means you must lose some kilograms from your weight. And if your weight is less than 70 kilograms, that means you need to increase some kilograms to your weight. So 70 kilograms is standard for you. There are two types of standard: ideal standard and practical standard. Ideal standard can be attained only under the best condition. That means there is no machine breakdowns, there is no employee rest, and everything is working right by 100%. The other type is practical standard. Practical standards are standards that are tight but attainable. That means there are normal machine downtime and employee rest periods. In this lecture, I will explain setting standard for direct material, direct labor, and variable overhead cost using practical standard. The first is the standard cost of direct material. If you calculate direct material cost per unit, you will multiply quantity times price. For example, if a unit needs 2 meters and price per unit is 1,000 pounds, that means total direct material cost is 2,000 pounds. Standard cost of direct material, you will add word standard before the word. That means standard price times standard quantity equal standard cost of direct material. Standard price equal purchase price per unit of direct material minus discount plus transportation expenses plus freight expenses plus insurance expenses plus any expenses. So standard price equal purchase price subtract discount plus any expenses. Standard quantity equal the amount of material required for a unit of finished product. If a unit of finished product needs 2 meters, so this is the amount of material required, plus allowance for normal waste or spoilage, plus allowance for normal reject. If a unit needs 2 meters, you must buy more than 2 meters, because there are waste, spoilage, and normal reject. The standard cost of direct material equal standard price times standard quantity. Example 1 on page 61. A company estimated the following data for direct material. Purchase price per unit of direct material 38.5. Freight from the supplier 2.4. Purchase discount per unit 0.9. Required. Determine the standard price for direct material required for producing 1 unit. To calculate standard price, start by purchase price per unit of direct material 38.5 plus any expenses, freight from the supplier 2.4 minus the discount, purchase discount per unit 0.9 equal standard price for direct material 40. Example 2 on page 61. A company estimated the following data for direct material. The amount of material required for each unit of finished product 2.7 kg. Allowance for normal waste or spoilage 0.2 kg. Allowance for normal rejects 0.1 kg. Required. Determine the standard quantity per unit for direct materials. To calculate standard quantity, start by the amount of material required for each unit of finished product 2.7 kg plus allowance for normal waste or spoilage 0.2 kg plus allowance for normal rejects 0.1 kilogram equal standard quantity 3 kilogram. Example 3 on page 62. Consider the same data in example 1 and 2. Required. Determine the standard cost of direct materials. In this example, I ask about standard cost of direct material. That equal standard quantity 3 kilo times standard price for direct material 40 equal 120. Standard cost of direct labor. Cost of direct labor equal number of hours per unit times labor rate per hour. For example, if a unit needs 3 hours and labor rate per hour 50, so the cost of direct labor equal 150. Also, standard cost of direct labor equal standard labor rate per hour times standard hours per unit. Standard labor rate per hour equal basic wage rate per hour plus bonus plus fringe benefits plus monetary benefits. Fringe benefits mean I provide to the employee bus to move or a house to live. Monetary benefits mean I give him money instead of house, I give him money instead of bus, and so on. Standard hours per unit equal basic labor time per unit plus allowance for breaks and personal needs. Breaks and personal needs increase basic labor time. Why? For example, if you said that I will study cost today from 2 o'clock till 4 o'clock. After 1 hour you feel tired and I said I will take rest for 30 minutes. That means you will finish studying cost at 4:30, not at 4 o'clock. So allowance for breaks and personal needs increase basic labor hour. Plus allowance for clean up and machine downtime, plus allowance for normal reject. Example 5 on page 63. A company estimated the following data for direct labor. Basic wage rate per hour $10, bonus at 30% of the basic wage, question mark, fringe benefits at 10% of the basic wage, question mark. Required. Determine the standard rate per hour. To calculate standard rate per hour, basic wage rate per hour 10 plus bonus 10 times 30% equal 3 plus fringe benefit 10 times 10% equal 1, so standard rate per hour equal 14. Example 6 on page 63. A company estimated the following data for direct labor. Basic labor time per unit in hours 1.9, allowance for breaks and personal needs 0.1, allowance for clean up and machine downtime 0.3, allowance for normal rejects 0.2. Required. Determine the standard hours per unit. To calculate standard hours per unit, basic labor time per unit in hours 1.9 plus allowance for breaks and personal needs 0.1 plus allowance for clean up and machine downtime 0.3 plus allowance for normal rejects 0.2. Standard hours per unit equal 2.5 hours. Example 7 on page 63. Consider the same data in example 5 and 6. Required. Determine the standard cost of direct labor. Standard cost of direct labor equal standard hours times standard rate. Standard hours per unit 2.5 hours times standard rate per hour 14 equal $35 per unit. Standard cost of variable overhead. Variable overhead is the indirect manufacturing cost that is variable. Examples of variable overhead include electricity needed to operate the machines, production supplies, utilities for the equipment, wages for handling, and shipping of the product. You can use direct labor hours as basis for computing an overhead rate. Also, you can use any other basis, for example, machine hours or direct material cost. But in this point, I will use direct labor hours as a basis for computing an overhead rate. So, standard cost of variable overhead equal standard variable overhead rate per hour times standard hours per unit. Example 8 on page 64. A company estimated the following data. The standard rate per labor hour for variable overhead $5. The standard labor hours per unit 2.5 hours. Required. Determine the standard variable indirect manufacturing or overhead costs per unit of finished product. Standard variable indirect manufacturing cost equal standard rate times standard labor hours. Standard rate per labor hours for variable overhead 5 times standard labor hours per unit 2.5 hours equal 12.5. By the end of this lecture, you have skills to set a standard for direct material, direct labor, and variable overhead. Thank you. Goodbye.